G'day, Grant Norsworthy here with morethanmusicmentor.com, but not only morethanmusicmentor.com. I'm also here with Zach. How you doing, Zach?
Doing well.
Zach's been playing some wonderful keyboards in our band and really appreciated you being here. But would you agree that most keyboard players who find themselves in a band like we've got here with bass and with drums, electric guitar, they learnt playing piano first,
Absolutely.
which is a very full instrument. Is that the case for you?
Yeah, I started playing piano when I was 7 or 8, and it wasn't until I was a teenager that I was in more of like a band setting like this. So.
Yeah, and that transition from being a piano player to being a keyboard player can be a difficult one. We've really got to bring a different approach to the instrument, right?
Absolutely.
I mean, it's the same thing here, but we've got to think differently. But as a piano player, you're able to play all the bass notes. You've got a huge keyboard here. I don't know how many keys it is, but it looks like 1,000,000 to me. And you can play bass notes, you can play the chords, you can play the melodies, you can play like higher, like more interesting parts. Let's hear perhaps some of Amazing Grace as a piano player.
Yeah.
Great, but and that sounds nice, and that could be a solo instrument, but it could be accompanying a single vocalist or a melodic instrument. But if you take exactly that approach to a full band sound, it's just too much, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So now that you're making this transition, or have made this transition to thinking about being a keyboard player rather than a piano player, tell us about the sort of things you're reaching for.
Yeah, I'm definitely trying to minimize what I'm doing on the low end, especially if there's a bass player. If there's not a bass player in the band, you have a little more liberty down there. And then just not feeling like I need to play all the time. Sometimes I'll even sit out for a whole verse or a bridge or something and come back in because the whole sound is not dependent on what I'm doing.
Yeah, you're making a really good point there. Sometimes the right musical choice is not playing when you're in a band. You know, we've got to find those moments, and this is part of the being a keyboard player now who feels like I'm adding extra texture, colour, shade, interest, but I don't have to be the driving force of everything in this band.
Yeah.
Right, can you demonstrate a couple of the choices you've made for some of the songs that we play?
Yeah, on the Phil Wickham version of This Is Amazing Grace, there's a synthesizer line in the recording that the style that we're doing it in is a little bit differently, but just learn that line and turn that into a piano riff instead. So
yeah. Right, so this part that you were playing with your right hand on the recording that we heard was this really sort of arena pop rock synth sound that doesn't really suit our situation, especially in front of a smaller congregation. So yeah, turn it into a piano line. Good choice.
Yeah.
What else could you show us?
On More of You and Less of Me, we actually went away from the piano sound and used a Rhodes sound, which is a vintage keyboard.
And it's a smoother sound too, isn't it? Like less attacky.
A real cool vibe to it.
Let's hear that. Yeah, and that little part in your right hand is a beautiful little hook to me that really supports what else is going on in the song.
Yeah.
Great. Anything else?
On our version of Blessed Be Your Name, I actually used my keyboard's version of a B3, which is a Hammond organ sound.
Yeah.
Which, for the most part, when I use a B3, I'm only using my right hand, just kind of in the kind of upper third of the keyboard.
Yeah,
here.
it gets just a bit too thick down here, doesn't it?
Yeah, for sure.
Messes the whole mix up. But up here, it can make a good texture.
So playing organ is about one of the easiest things you can do. You hardly have to move anything. Probably the less movement, the better, I'd say.
Yeah.
So just doing something like this.
Yeah, I get it. Good stuff. And you know, the good thing about that sound is it's not very attacky, so it actually ends up adding just this extra shade to our sound. It's not really people's ear being drawn to that particular sound, but it's there to sort of thicken up the chorus, wasn't it? The pre-chorus or something.
Yeah, and especially there's not a lot of other instruments that are playing up in those frequencies, so it just helps fill out that sonic spectrum a little bit better.
Yeah, great. Wonderful. And, we'd probably make a quick mention of the weighted keyboard here. What we're talking about here is an electronic keyboard that has the feel of shifting a hammer, hitting a string. It feels like when you're playing piano. And that's what you've got here, and I guess that's what you'd suggest for keyboard players.
Yeah, when I bought this keyboard, that was one of the top 2 or 3 things I was looking for, is how do the keys feel under my hands, and trying to find something that was as similar to a piano as possible. Because if you get something that doesn't have any weight to it at all, it just makes it harder to play consistently, both volume-wise and timing-wise.
Yeah. So Zach's approach to being a keyboard player in our band is to limit himself to a little handful of sounds that we could call perhaps reminiscent of acoustic, authentic instruments. But if you're going to be a synthesizer player, that's another whole level. The spectrum of sounds and things you can do as a synth player is quite overwhelming. Yeah. But you'd have to say that if you're going to be a synth player as well, you probably need to get an unweighted keyboard. And that's why you sometimes see people with a second keyboard on top here. It's not weighted, and that allows certain ways of playing synthesizer that are actually quite difficult with a weighted keyboard. For sure. But then playing piano sort of parts with an unweighted keyboard feels so strange, doesn't it?
Absolutely.
Yeah, can't do it. Hey, there's one sound I wanted to ask you about, Zach, before we finish. That's the sound that I hear a lot in church bands, which is a piano sound layered with a synthetic string sound. Have you got that one?
Unfortunately.
Unfortunately? Why do you say that?
It's one of the worst things in the world, in my opinion.
Well, you know what? I agree with you, and I set this up, but let's have a listen to what that sounds like. A piano sound with a synthetic string underneath it. No, stop. That's it. I can't hear anymore. It's strange to me how many keyboard players in churches feels like that's a great sound. And, hey, it's music. It's subjective, right? But that to me is the sound of the 90s, and it's gone quite a while ago. Yeah. And if you start playing with that piano layered with a synthetic string sound in a band situation, it just adds another tone that's going to make things more confused. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah.
Great. Thanks, Zach, for your time. This has been wonderful. Thanks for watching. Make sure you check out the other videos in this series. Please subscribe to the channel. And hey, if you want to find out some more information about More Than Music Mentor, to arrange your own consultation or even have me visit for an on-site consultation and training, please go to the website and contact us through morethanmusicmentor.com.